What are we doing? What was that?
But he won't get corn. At least not from Clarice. Oh, at least not from Clarice.
What?
Turns out the guy.
What was any of that? Hey guys, my name's Dan, and today's reaction comes from Dead Meat. This is Hannibal 2001 Kill Count, and I'm very excited to jump into all of these because as I didn't really want to admit, but I haven't seen any of the Hannibal Lecter movies up until Dead Meat's been covering them, so I can't thank James enough for diving into all of these movies. They've been an absolute joy to watch. Has Hannibal been a joy to watch for me? We'll get into that, but first I want to point out the obvious. This is now much bigger on the screen. I'm not sure if this is something you guys want or not, but trying something a little different. I know some other reaction channels have this being much bigger than what I was having it, so we're going to try this, see how this works out. Hopefully the copyright police will be coming after me any more than they already have been, just due to the size of the screen, because YouTube works weird when it comes to that sort of thing. So please let me know what you guys think about it. But before we get into today's reaction, please do check out all those links I have for you down in the description below. More specifically, the Dead Meat link if you haven't already. It's a great way to support the entire Dead Meat team, and a great and easy way to support me is to go right below this video, click all those buttons down there, because I always want you to see future reactions that I do, but also helps my channel to grow. And without any further ado, let's go.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies and show you how they were made. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Hannibal, the sequel to The Silence of the Lambs, released in 2001. Hannibal picks up a decade after the events of the first movie, with Hannibal Lecter still on the loose and Clarice Starling, a grizzled FBI veteran. A botched operation puts her career in jeopardy, so Clarice finds herself forced back into the hunt for Hannibal, who's eager to revive his game of cat and mouse. After the adaptation of The Silence of the Lambs became a critical and commercial success, to say the least, Thomas Harris spent several years writing a follow-up novel, which he finally released in 1999. This third Hannibal Lecter book was controversial due to its lurid content and its characterization of Clarice Starling. This caused a lot of Silence's cast and crew to turn down the adaptation.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jodie Foster, director Jonathan Demme, and screenwriter Ted Taley. But producers Dino De Laurentiis and his wife Martha were more than happy to take on the franchise again. Dino had produced Manhunter, but when that movie flopped, he sold the rights to Silence of the Lambs. Eager to make bank off of Hannibal's popularity, De Laurentiis turned to Alien director Ridley Scott as Demme's replacement.
When one pope die, we create a new pope.
The movie's initial draft was written by acclaimed writer David Mamet, then turned over to Steven Zaillian, who had written Schindler's List. Clarice Starling was recast as Julianne Moore with an endorsement from Hopkins, who had worked with her in Surviving Picasso. Jodie Foster's performance in Silence is an all-timer, but I think Moore slides into the character well enough. I mean, I'll always love her, thanks to The Lost World and Boogie Nights, but I do think she plays an older Starling well, and even holds herself the same way Foster did. Any differences
she did a good job.
Can be explained by how young the character was in Silence. She's 10 years older here, and a character can change a lot in 10 years. Just ask Pete Campbell. As a film, Hannibal isn't a masterpiece like Manhunter or The Silence of the Lambs, but I think it has its own appeal, especially if you're looking for more action and horror. There are multiple shoot-'em-up sequences and disgusting gore, paired with one of the genre's most memorable kills. Anthony Hopkins is still excellent as Hannibal, even if he's starting to become a caricature. And we once again get an iconic non-Hannibal antagonist in the form of Mason Verger, who's chewing up every scene, even without a face. Can Hannibal up the body count?
Sorry to interrupt, but the footage you requested is in.
Oh, what footage?
Who are you looking for?
Not who. What? My Performance Package 5.0 Ultra from today's sponsor, Manscaped. It's been stolen by someone wanting Manscaped's superior
who would steal something like that?
But they left a clue. The smell of a fragrance I got from the team for Christmas. So it was one of our own. And I'm gonna catch him. Was it social media assistant Michael? Could the allure of the crop soother and crop preserver
Don't tell me it's Zoran.
Can't say I'd blame him. The crop soother pampers delicate areas with essential moisture and soothing relief. Then the preserver deodorant gets to work, keeping funk at bay.
Is spying on employees in their private spaces ethical?
This is time for morality, Fiona.
Oh
Maybe it was brand manager and producer Ben, drawn in by the siren buzz of the Weed Whacker 2.0. On top of being designed to tackle nose and ear hairs with ease, it's waterproof, cordless, and rechargeable. Quite the prize. Of course, there's always him.
Yeah, there he is. There's my guy.
Aha!
Oh! He did do it!
Sporting wider round teeth to easily cut
Zora, why you keep getting yourself in trouble?
Hair and a foil blade for a sleek finish. I'd know that trimmer anywhere. Great. Send in the troops.
Do you mean me and Tim again?
Yeah, but Troop sounds cooler.
Yeah. I get that, yeah.
No need to risk your own troops. You can secure your own Performance Package 5.0 Ultra by going to manscaped.com and using promo code KILLCOUNT20 to get 20% off, free shipping, and 2 free gifts. Ooh. Can Hannibal up the body count for his big title outing? Let's find out and get to the kills.
Alright, let's get into it.
The movie begins. Wait, are we in a wormhole? What the hell's going on here? I feel like I'm watching the movie through a window or something. On the other side of Matthew McConaughey's bookshelf is Barney, Hannibal's gentle orderly from the last movie. Seated across from this familiar face is a not-so-familiar not-face. Mason Verger is the only surviving victim of Hannibal Lecter, and his obsession with the cannibal extends to Clarice Starling.
So, Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter became friendly.
This dude looks and acts like a Venture Brothers villain. He's one big smile away from Mr. Brisby. Add in a dash of Augustus St. Cloud, because he's collecting artifacts too, like Hannibal's famous mask and Hannibal's famous title card.
Yeah, the
and
title
some
card.
Credits that feel like I'm watching The Wire when you walk through the garden, am I right? We jump to Washington, D.C., where we're reunited with Clarice Starling. Julianne Moore, make sure you know.
I'm Special Agent Starling.
Jodie Foster declined to return for a number of reasons, chief of which was how different the character was written. She also wasn't offered the pay rate she wanted, and didn't want to make the movie without Jonathan Demme. Special Agent Starling is leading a team to arrest Evelda Drumgo, a movie drug dealer so heinous she keeps needles in her hair and uses babies as body armor. Starling's job is made more difficult since her task force includes condescending assholes.
Excuse me, I'm Officer Bolton, DC Police.
I'm here to be sexist, ma'am. Careful
Yep.
with that one, Clarice. He's got a history of having issues with authority. The cop team arrives undercover at a fish market, doing a piss-poor job not looking like cops.
Can I please get a cup of coffee?
Yes, I nailed it. Clarice spots Drumgo,
Totally.
but with Baby on board, she calls off the raid. Her FBI counterparts respect her authority, but local cop Bolton draws his gun. That triggers a shootout that kills 2 gang members, one of whom is a kill count returnee after doing time with the Subway Gang in Predator 2. Clarice's friend and fellow agent, John Brigham, takes out another guy before being struck by the getaway car. Clarice manages to shoot the driver and the scrub hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride. That just leaves Evelda Drumgo, alone and
Was he
defenseless,
trying to holler at you?
save for her Kidlar vest.
Have you been?
If anyone gets that reference.
Don't do this. Do what?
Oh, and her MAC-10. Clarice is shot in her vest before firing back. Thankfully, she activated Deadeye, allowing her to kill Drumgo without harming
Ooh,
the
Deadeye!
She
Yeah, that's a Red Dead
Maybe for more
Redemption
info.
reference.
Wait, never mind. She's just washing him off. Clarice turns on more waterworks as she watches a news report about the day's events. It confirms the death of her friend Agent Brigham, so I'll go ahead and add him to the count. By the way, the report says Brigham and 5 other people were killed, but I counted 6 other kills. Reporting these days. Where did integrity and journalism
seriously,
go? For her
dude!
baby-risking actions, Clarice must answer to a panel of disinterested men. She admits that it maybe wasn't the best idea, but she had to make a choice to save herself or be killed.
It also wasn't her idea to begin with this whole thing. So that's the part where I didn't get about this, is why was she disgraced in the first place? Was like a local cop who technically wasn't like a part of the team. He started the whole thing, but it's all being dumped on her for some reason.
Killed a mother.
I didn't get
holding
that.
Her child.
Maybe someone can explain that to me.
And I regret it. I resent myself for it.
Worst of all these dudes is slimy justice official Paul Krendler, who spends the whole hearing thigh-spying. 10 years into her career, Clarice has no patience for guys like this.
I wasn't speaking to you, Mr. Krendler. When I speak to you, you'll know it because I'll look at you.
She's bailed out of trouble
Yup.
thanks to Mason Verger, who saw the news report and decided to make a move. He claims to have new information on Hannibal Lecter that he'll only share with Starling. Although she doesn't want to return to that well, too soon, she's forced to, since her reputation is no longer Sterling. At Verger's lavish estate, she meets his personal physician Cordell, who leads her to his boss's bedside. Verger puts himself in the spotlight for their interview, and Starling shows she isn't afraid to look him in his face. This incredible makeup was done by Greg Cano, whose work we just saw on the Lost Boys kill count. It's applied to an uncredited Gary Oldman, whose look in Bram Stoker's Dracula was also designed by Cano. To avoid making Verger look like a zombie, Kahneman director Ridley Scott consulted with doctors to make everything anatomically correct. It took 6 hours for Oldman to go through the makeup and hair process, and during takes, the special effects team would hide his eyelids using fishing wire.
And
Whoa!
When we did the take, they pulled that and that.
Oh my god!
And then they anchored them off.
Apparently, that touch was a personal request from the actor.
When Gary finally was cast and came in, the first thing he said was,
You think we can clamp my eye open?
Oldman asked to go uncredited and did the role for little pay. He partly modeled Verger's voice after Katharine Hepburn, but I swear I hear a bit of Jimmy Stewart in there.
Yes, I know. The day you never thought would arrive has.
Verger is disfigured
A little
thanks
bit,
to Hannibal.
little bit.
Don't feel bad for him. He's a sick son of a bitch himself. He tells Clarice about how he'd raped the children who attended his father's Christian camp.
Poor, unfortunate cast-off little boys and girls who would do anything for a candy bar.
Verger was arrested, but his wealth and political connections saved him from doing jail time.
And that's how you get the people to hate a character.
Was instead assigned a court-ordered therapist who turned out to be Hannibal, shown here in shitty, choppy, slow-motion flashbacks, handing out drugs to Verger like candy.
Would you like a Papa?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Papa. Just as he did with multiple MIGs, Hannibal convinced Verger to be his own worst enemy.
Try peeling off your face.
And feeding it to the dogs.
Fueled by the drugs, Verger complied, as the good doctor told him to okay go.
That seemed like a good idea at the time.
Oh yeah,
Verger gets
totally.
thrown in
Yeah,
an X-ray
let me just cut up my face. Yeah, that's a wonderful idea.
Hannibal, he claims to have received from the man himself. The broken bone stems from a time Hannah Gordy aped out on a nurse, an incident Dr. Chilton mentioned in Silence of the Lambs.
The doctors managed to reset her jaw, more or less. Save one of her eyes.
On the tape, Clarice spots Hannibal's super-de-duper guard Barney. She pays him a visit and the two catch up. Barney mentions the sanitarium closed after Dr. Chilton went missing during his Caribbean vacation. Guess he made that dinner appointment after all. But
Nom
Clarice
nom.
ain't here to talk about kills I won't count, nor use Barney's net zero account. She's figured out he's been selling Lecter souvenirs to private collectors, including the x-ray Verger showed her at his estate. Barney turns over the rest of his stock, which includes some tapes Dr. Chilton recorded of her visits with Hannibal. We saw this happening in silence, but the dialogue we hear now has been re-recorded, with Julianne Moore doing Jodie Foster's lines. We hop over to Florence, Italy, where we meet Inspector Rinaldo Pazzi, a guy who likes throwing cigarettes at birds. Get out of here, birds! He's investigating the disappearance of a local librarian and wants to question the man's replacement. It ends up being Hannibal, living under a pseudonym and a bespoke fedora. It's really working for him, though. It's giving productive vacation. Dr. Fell, as Lecter goes by now, isn't on Patsy's suspect list, but the doctor can't help but tease him anyway about his recent reassignment.
You were on the Master case, I'm sure I read.
Yes, that's right.
Now you're on this. This is much less grand a case, I would think.
Well, if I thought of my work in those terms, yes, I guess I'd agree.
The El Mostro case he mentions, aka the Monster of Florence, was a real-life case concerning a still unidentified serial killer who murdered 14 people between 1974 and 1985.
Wow.
Hannibal novelist Thomas Harris attended a related trial while doing research and decided to include the case as part of the book's Italian subplot. Clarice's investigation puts Hannibal back on the FBI's MySpace Top 8. Keep it up, and maybe he can get higher than Bin Laden. I know the dude was behind the 1993 World Trade Center attack, but it's still kind of weird seeing him in a movie that came out 7 months before 9/11. Hannibal sees that
it
he's
is kind of
popular
weird.
again, so he writes Clarice a letter
Weird
complete with
coincidence,
cutting
for sure.
remarks.
Do you imagine your daddy being shamed by your disgrace? Do you see him in his plain pine box crushed by your failure?
Also includes some Tumblr band fan art. Damn, Hanny boy, you a horny boy. Unlike
Sure
Verger's
is.
X-ray, this letter is the real deal. And while the FBI can't trace its origins, Clarice notices it's been spritzed with a distinctive perfume. She brings it to a panel of scent experts in Salamancas who inform her the perfume is a custom
Salamanca!
blend. Clarice follows her nose to a specialty shop in Italy and requests their surveillance tapes through Patsy's police station. Maybe it's because of that drawing Hannibal sent that requires a modesty post-it, but Clarice
Apparently.
is already consumed by this case.
What the hell are you doing sitting there in the dark, Starling?
Thinking about cannibalism.
It could also be that she remembers how captivating Lecter was to talk to. A far cry from jackwads like Paul Kremler.
I always figured him for queer.
Why would you say that, Paul?
Oh, all the zortsy-fartsy stuff.
Kremler has it out for her because years ago, he hit on her and she turned him down. He tries to pretend that it doesn't matter and that Clarice ain't nothing special.
This town is full of corn-pwned country pussy.
Corn. See? Corn. See? Corn. See? Corn.
What?
See?
Corn. Whoa,
Corn.
whoa,
See?
whoa!
Mother wants corn. See?
What are we doing?
Wants to
What
have
was
a
that?
feast, but he won't get corn. See? At least not from Clarice. Oh, at least not from Clarice.
What?
Turns out the guy.
What was
at
any of
Patsy's
that?
house is also
What the hell? We're just gonna gloss over that and go back to the kills. Oh my god, James!
Hungry for Starling, even though he's only heard her voice. To be fair though, she's also making sexy sketches of him. Patsy himself has other stuff on his mind after spotting a familiar face on the perfume store's surveillance tape. He does his own sniffing, and the FBI's website reveals his librarian friend is hungry for more than just a good book. He sees a $3 million reward alongside a phone number that redirects him to Mason Verger. Wait, what the fuck? This guy's got pull enough to have his number on the FBI website?
Apparently.
I guess they already treat his house like a freaking road stop. No wonder he's lounging like a TikTok girlie, sipping from a Stanley Cup. Look at him! As proof of Hannibal's whereabouts, Mason demands a fingerprint and the title of his favorite Pokemon game.
Snap.
Oh, that was easy. Print, which is much more difficult.
Oh my god, I remember that game!
The doctor's Giallo gloves. I bet those remind Patsy's actor Giancarlo Giannini of his career in the 1970s. Eventually, Giannini became the official Italian dub for Al Pacino, which, yeah, that totally makes sense. To get the print, Patsy coerces a pickpocket into working for him.
When you go for his wallet, he'll catch you by the wrist.
Oh man, if the Godfather's taught me anything, it's that oranges and Italians do not mix. Sure enough, Hannibal quickly turns the tables on this fumbling Fagin. The guy does get a print on his bracelet, but he also takes a stab to a pretty important artery. He bleeds out, and I can't tell if Patsy hastens it to cover his tracks, but in any case, it is gushing. So gross, it makes that pig statue vomit. The fingerprint is verified by Verger's staff, so he calls up some Sardinian henchmen to go capture Lecter. He's been planning an elaborate revenge scheme for his former psychiatrist, which includes some not-so-little piggies he's been training to eat human flesh. He loves the sound of them going hog wild.
Oh, they sound fantastic.
Oh.
Patsy's paid up and told that
that's so unnerving, my god.
He has to do is point Hannibal out, one cheek kiss away from Judas's job. But he's still bitter about losing the El Mostro case, so he decides to see Lecter's capture all the way through. Nothing could go wrong. Patsy takes his wife to see Sidney Prescott's sleigh display and finds Hannibal Lecter in attendance as well. After the show, the good doctor gets pretty damn flirty with Patsy's wife. She can't deny his riz. And you know what Mason Verger always says?
And nobody beats the riz.
Back in America, Clarice sees Lecter on the perfume shop surveillance.
Even Jay's like that one.
Panic attack. She realizes Patsy is trying to catch Lecter on his own and attempts to dissuade him over the phone. The inspector hangs up on her and takes his chances, going to one of Hannibal's academic lectures. He offers to buy Hannibal drinks, a setup for Verger's henchmen to nab him outside. Before they leave, the doctor insists on showing Patsy his 23andMe results.
It's your ancestor, Commendatore, hanging beneath these very windows.
Yikes!
Francesca de Pazzi.
De Pazzi was a 15th century banker and Assassin's Creed target who was hanged for plotting to overthrow the Florentine government. Hannibal's picked up on the modern Pazzi's betrayal as well, so he knocks him out with chloroform and takes him to the window. Lecter interrogates the copper and learns that Verger is behind his attempted kidnapping. Then Patsy gets a call from Clarice, giving Hannibal a chance to recite one of his catchphrases.
Hello, Clarice.
He's on a tight schedule, so he cuts the call short, then cuts into Patsy's torso. The disemboweling is done via gravity when Hannibal throws him from the balcony. The inspector is hanged just like his ancestor, with his guts painting the pavement below. This kill was achieved using a stomach wrap loaded with fake entrails, blood sacs, and tubing. The jerk of the stunt performer's movement caused the whole mess to fall out of a pre-torn opening. Production made a special fake blood that stained the stucco of this historical building in Florence, where the film's Italian scenes were shot. Hopkins was popular in Italy and was crowded by tourists and locals during the shoot.
I feel like Jacko a bit.
Verger's sibling husband rush inside to intercept their target.
Love that.
After younger bro Matteo splits off, Hannibal finds him and delivers a choppy Freddy vs. Jason throat slash that sends him flying. His body is discovered by his older brother Carlo. With Lecter still on the loose, Verger decides to lure him out by targeting Clarice. He bribes Krendler to plant a phony romantic postcard in her office, and he does so with gusto, the piece of shit. The character of Paul Krendler made a brief appearance in The Silence of the Lambs. There, he was played by Ron Vaughther, who sadly passed away in 1994. The role was recast with the late Ray Liotta, whose performance is delightfully despicable.
$500,000.
Since Clarice is seemingly compromised and ostensibly withholding evidence, she's put on administrative leave by her bosses. I bet she misses Crawford right about now. Crendent gives a two-faced press release claiming that he's on Clarice's side.
Starling is one of the best agents that we have.
The subterfuge earns him a house call from Hannibal, who acquires an address from some of his mail. Then Hannibal embarks on a Martha Stewart shopping montage set to an aria from the opera he attended earlier. This aria, Vide Cor Meum, was composed by Patrick Cassidy and co-produced with Hans Zimmer, who wrote the rest of Hannibal's score. Hannibal is a bit of a reunion for Ridley Scott crew members, since Zimmer, editor Pietro Scalia, and cinematographer John Matheson had all just worked on Gladiator. Clarice falls asleep after a long day at the office, but the next day Hannibal interrupts her morning routine. He directs her to speed over to a local train station, though I don't think he's aware she's being followed by Verger's henchmen. For the scene set in the US, Hopkins wanted to change Lecter's appearance, cropping his hair short and building up muscle so he'd look more like a mercenary. Lecter Lee Ermey teases Clarice on the phone while strolling about. She uses sound cues to track his movements and gets within a hair of finding him. Alas, he avoids her and leaves, only to get kidnapped by Verger's badfellas in the parking lot. Starling reports the incident to her FBI counterparts, but it doesn't do any good since Verger has the local police force in his pocket. That means she has to go rogue, and drives through gates and cows to get back to his property.
No,
At
cows!
Verger's estate, Hannibal is once again carted to a meeting. Dude gets wheeled around everywhere, the lazy bastard. Sure would be nice. Hannibal's not only passive, he's passive-aggressive too.
I guess you wish now you'd fed the rest of me to the dogs. No, Mason. No, I much prefer you the way you are.
Lecter is upgraded
Wow.
Christ-like construction.
What a bird.
Delivered back to the barnyard, where Mason intends on feeding him to his human-hungering hogs. Clarice infiltrates the farm and interrupts the proceedings, shooting Carlo down when he tries to draw a gun. At least he's with his brother now. She shoots another goon to the ground, then gives Hanny a hand with his restraints. Another lackey shows up in the rafters, and while she manages to shoot him, she's downed by a bullet to the shoulder. Lecter picks her up just as Verger's hogs burst through, and for whatever reason, Beastmaster Hannibal holds sway over this bay of pigs. The same can't be said for that injured goon, who's eaten alive by the hogs, just as
Yep, they're
Cordell
still
wheels
going
his
hog
boss in to
wild.
Check out the commotion. Oh god, they ate his face. Clarice passes out, and Verger tries to get his nurse to break his Hippocratic oath.
Get the gun and shoot him!
Go into the pan?
Yes!
No. I'm staying out.
You're involved is what you are.
Hannibal, however, has a different proposition.
Hey, Cordell, why didn't you push him in? You can always say it was me.
That sounds just fine to Cordell, who sets his boss's wheelchair to drive. It plunges the paralyzed pedophile down to perish among the pigs.
Bye-bye!
Verger's face is devoured again, this time by boars, as Hannibal makes his escape, hoisted by his own pig tar. Animal coordinator and awesome name haver Sled Reynolds found a dozen boars between 300 and 600 pounds for the movie. He trained them to attack prosthetic dummies made of gelatin and chicken so they could be torn apart and eaten. For some shots, they were trained to fake attack stunt coordinator Phil Nielsen.
And they actually jerk him off.
Wait, what?
His feet.
Oh, dude,
Oh.
crazy. Special effects
Seriously.
makeup artist Keith Vanderlyn
Whoa.
also created a seriously impressive mechanical boar head to use in close-ups. Vanderlyn and his team made another animatronic as well. Clarice's bloody baptism earlier was done with a robot baby to avoid, waterboarding a real one. Later,
Yes!
Paul Kremler goes to his remote
yeah,
vacation
that's a good
house
call.
for some rest and relaxation.
Jesus.
Hannibal surprises him with more rest than he bargained for, having found this address in the mail he stole. Clarice stirs awake upstairs, her bullet wound stitched and her former wear fixed, or should I say affixed, to her boobies. The funniest part about this scene is imagining Hannibal applying double-sided tape, because let me tell you, it's there, and it is doing a lot of work.
It
Despite
sure
feeling
is.
a little woozy here. Clarice still manages to phone the police, which Hannibal sees while doing meal prep in the kitchen. She meets up with him in the dining room, where special guest Krendler is acting a bit unusual.
Hello, Agent Starling. I always wanted to watch you eat.
That might have something to do with the haircut Hannibal.
Uh-huh.
I think Sloppy Sweeney took a little too much off the top. In the movie's most infamous scene, Hannibal slices bits off of Krendler's brain, fries them up, and then feeds them back to him. Christ almighty! It is a disgusting dinner that rivals the one Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They achieved the effect using multiple techniques, including a green screen cap that required Ray Liotta to shave his head. Then they combined shots of him with footage from a dummy that had real animal brains in it. This was more than just a dummy, though. It was a $70,000 full-sized animatronic version of Liotta.
$70,000? Damn!
Into the brain.
To me, it's one of the best scenes that has combined all the techniques.
I mean,
This
it's hard to
animatronic
argue that
had full
point.
facial movement and was even used in a couple of wider shots, though Ridley Scott won't say which ones because he likes that people can't tell. All this work culminates in what is easily the most memorable scene of the film.
Yeah, I think they'll remember this one.
Krendler doesn't die on camera, but I'm gonna go ahead and put him on the count after Hannibal throws the towel in for him. I'm just assuming you don't survive getting your brain picked like that.
No!
Clarice finds the strength to attack Lecter in the kitchen, but he traps her ponytail in the fridge door. When he finally decides to steal a kiss, Starling startles him by handcuffing their wrists together. With the police closing in, Lecter prepares to free himself with the old Dr. Gordon treatment. Oh shit, I just realized they have stuff in common.
I'm a doctor.
Yeah, he is too! Hannibal hesitates, then makes his choice and brings the cleaver down off camera. But Clarice ain't the one who will be buying gloves at a 2-for-1 deal, since she's still able to raise both hands when the police find her.
I'm Clarice Starling!
It's Hannibal who's now short a hand, as we see on his escape flight. I much prefer this to the book's ending, where Lecter and Starling run off together and retire to a life of sex, drugs, and building memory palaces together.
What?
No wonder Jodie Foster turned this down.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Young boy next to Hannibal is curious about his lunch, which includes some Kremler carryout. Lecter decides to broaden the young boy's horizons.
As your mother tells you, my mother certainly told me, it is important, she always used to say, always to try new things.
The movie ends with one last peep at Lecter's piercing gaze. How many people got killed by a hungry Hannibal? Let's find out at the numbers.
What?
It's a little hot in here.
Uh-oh. Oh!
Better.
James! Oh my god! I love that!
15 people died in Hannibal, 5 more than in Silence of the Lambs. The victims consisted of 14 men and only 1 woman, giving us this pie chart, as well as a kilogami, since this exact count and gender breakdown has never been seen on the show before.
Oh!
With a runtime of 132 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 8.8 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Paul Krendler, obviously.
Yeah,
Ray Liotta
duh.
eating his own frickin' brain is the thing of nightmares for anyone who watched this movie too young, myself included. The almost ready for lamest kill will go to Mateo. A choppy slow-mo slash isn't good enough for Freddy vs. Jason, let alone a Hannibal Lecter film.
Yeah.
And that's it. Hannibal came out in 2001, and while it wasn't critically beloved, it did make a lot at the box office.
Sure.
Next week, we'll be hopping back before Clarice's time with a prequel, Red Dragon. But
Oh,
until then, I'm
prequel
James H.
time.
Denise. This has been the Kill Count.
Okay.
The next kill count.
The time has come for the Hannibal franchise to return to where it all began.
Special Agent Graham was an unexpected pleasure.
That's right, we're doing Manhunter again, only in a slick Hollywood style.
Please, no.
Gone are the artistic shots, synthy soundtrack, and haunting Will Graham.
I hate this.
Red Dragon adapts the same source material as Manhunter, so a lot of the scenes are similar.
Not similar, the same.
Hey, that's not entirely
Oh!
true. They cram a whole lot more dialogue in to get the same points across.
It's just so sad.
There are some original additions that can be savored, like Anthony Hopkins briefly sporting a ponytail as Hannibal.
When you want a good laugh, you will find me in fine state.
The ending is also better, and fans of Ray Fiennes will delight in his performance as the Tooth Fairy.
Oh!
I am the dragon, and you call me insane.
You get to see more of the villain in this version. A whole lot more. I'm talking about his blood.
Oh my god.
Surprises, aren't you, D?
Yep.
So this week, watch Ed Norton do his best in Red Dragon.
I don't like this any better than you.
Who knows? You might like it more than the movie Manhunter.
Almost, not quite.
Then on Friday,
Yeah,
go
we'll
on
see.
over to watch The Kill Count, only on Dead Meat.
We can let this tie us up in knots, or we can learn from it.
Red Dragon can currently be.
All right, so I was kind of coming into this kill count not really being the biggest fan of this movie. I'll tell you why, because I didn't really know the reasoning for Jodie Foster not wanting to be involved in this movie, because in my opinion, outside of Anthony Hopkins, she made that movie what it was by her performance. And just to hear that she wasn't even involved with it was, you know, a bit annoying, because I really, really liked her in that role. And not that I have anything against Julianne Moore, I think she's wonderful too. It's just I've never really been too comfortable with the recasting of anybody. Like maybe like have like, I don't know, like maybe write her out of the story, maybe change the name, do something like that. I get you want to keep that similar relationship because you already have that built, but you already had that built with Jodie Foster's character, not Julianne Moore's version. Not that hers was bad, but, you know, I preferred Jodie Foster. But I do get why she wasn't involved because of, you know, the way this book was written to begin with. And I also, as I said, it didn't really make much sense to me why she was disgraced for the raid. Because, I mean, she did everything that she could to stop it on several different occasions. Everyone else heard, like no, I don't want you to do it. But that cop, he went super rogue. And, you know, she even got questioned for shooting 5 people, even though she wasn't the one who shot all 5 of the people. And it didn't really flow naturally. It felt like that was their way of getting Clarice to go back after Hannibal Lecter and get away from what she's been doing. So she needed that some sort of conflict. I just wish it made more sense. And then, of course, you know, the makeup and the prosthetics on Mason's character, phenomenal. Like, so damn good. Even seeing Ray Liotta's character, the way that they did the brain, that was so cool as well. So everybody within the makeup, the props department, all that, they did a fantastic job with this. I cannot, there's no criticism to that whatsoever. And one thing I wasn't really sure of was the point of Hannibal being handcuffed to Clarice, because I kind of figured Clarice would have to think at that point, like, he either, because there's a cleaver like somewhere nearby and she could see it, and you know, he has a history of doing this sort of thing, but she's sort of relying on the fact that he said in the past that he doesn't want to kill her, but maybe that's, you know, that's changed or whatever to, you know, save himself. I'm not really sure why you would take that chance, especially considering the fact that he gets away anyway. So what was the point of sort of keeping that in the movie? What was the point of, I guess, just further along the lines of just keeping it like, oh, well, he's not going to kill her. That's already been stated, but we're going to re-emphasize it here. I just didn't really get that part whatsoever. And lastly, it felt a little long to me. It was a little over 2 hours. I felt like it could have been a half hour, maybe 45 minutes less. There was a lot of unnecessary stuff they could have just cut down on and made shorter. I felt like that would have been better. But that's going to do it for me here. Comment down below. Let me know, what did you think about Hannibal? Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Please check all those links I have for you down in the description below. And lastly, and most importantly, I want to give a huge shout out to all my $5 and up supporters on Patreon: Luchador, Cruising, Wolverine 310, GBN, Kester Kronich, Amber K, Raymond Bright, Joshi, Chris Curtis, Haley Mashinardi, Am Perry, Larka, Vatsakophony, Dancing Viru, Morgan Page, Alfred Frioli, Izzy, Misa, Misa2, Lily the Snoopy Fan, None Say Sing, Lauren, Jenny the Swiftie, Allison the Aesthetic Girl, Jonathan, and brand new page supporter Mad Hushy. Thank you guys so very much. And if you too like to have a shout out at each and every one of my videos, please head over to patreon.com/TheDanReactor for more. And I'll see you guys next time.